If you are looking for a speaker for your organization, look no further than Dr. Janice Fortman, an international speaker, award-winning author, and producer and host of Relationship Matters TV. What sets her apart is that she connects the heart of relationships with the power of communication and leadership. Dr. Jan's goal is not simply to inspire audiences for a moment, but to give them the insight and tools to transform the way they live, lead, and relate to others. Contact her at drjan@drjanicespeaks.com or 1-877-667-7325.
Oh, I'm just talking and my mic was muted. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's Dr. Jan Fortman with Relationship Matters TV. I hope everyone is having a beautifully blessed morning, afternoon, or evening. Well, we are here right outside of Chicagoland and hoping that we do not get another storm. We didn't. Fortunately, I didn't have any water or flooding, but some of the vicinities around me did. And a very good friend of mine had 5.5 feet of water in her basement. And I asked her, what? 5.5 feet. She said when the water went down, it was coming in. She said it was just rushing in. And she lives kind of in a valley. And she said when we went downstairs and saw the water line, it was halfway up to my ear. And so when you start thinking about the little problems that you have, I thought, well, we have a leaky faucet. No. When you look at other people's problems, especially the ones who really have where the fires are, where the floods are, and you think your problems are tiny. They're not even problems. But anyway, so that was that. But yeah, we're praying for her. Everything has to be gutted. Walls have to come down. Mold is forming, and now they have to stay in a hotel. I thought, oh my God. And her business was down on the lower level. So, but anyway, so, whatever help I can offer her, I am. Now let's go to, so be thankful of what's going on in your life, So let's talk about my guest this evening, because it's evening here in Chicago. Let me tell you, her name is Jenny White. So let me tell you about Jenny. OMG. When I think of Jenny, I think of trauma to triumph. And when we talk with her and have a conversation with her, you will see what I'm talking about. But anyway, Jenny is a retired registered nurse, and she lives in southwestern Ontario, Canada. But I'm going to let her go really deep into her story. But when she retired, she discovered that she had a brain tumor wrapped around her carotid artery in her brain. It was life threatening, and she had to have special surgery, and she was in a coma for days. And when she woke up, she was like, I'll say, like tied down to the bed, because while she was out, she was not a very good patient. She was disoriented. She was trying to remove all her tubes and things, and her memory was gone. And her husband was by her bedside, and she didn't even remember her husband. But Jenny has reinvented herself, and I'm going to let her go into it. But before we go into it, I want to show you something that really kind of, I would say, just kind of pulls in who Jenny is and what she's all about. Where is the sound? What happened to the sound? Oh my God, where is the sound? I don't know how to sound this. I keep muting my mic. We're going to play that video again because it's more to that video. But Jenny, welcome to Relationship Matters TV.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Just welcome. But I want you to go more into your story. So start from the beginning.
Okay. Well, as you mentioned, I was a nurse and I was a registered nurse for over 33 years in Ontario. And I did everything from floor nursing to ICU trauma to being managers of nursing floors to being directors of nursing care. So I was running nursing departments. So I retired and I was glad to retire. I was tired. And my husband and I were enjoying retirement. He retired after me, so I had a couple of years on my own, which was fabulous. And we were traveling the world doing the things we wanted to do. And one day I just was not feeling well. And the nurse inside of me said, you better go get checked. So I did. I got myself to hospital and called him and said, can you meet me at the hospital? And he did. And as soon as I got there, they considered that I was probably having a stroke, which was kind of my instinct.
Mm-hmm.
And they did the scans right away. And sure enough, they came back and they said, well, good news and bad news. The good news is you're not having a stroke. The bad news is you have a brain tumor and it's going to kill you sooner than later. So that pretty much stopped me in my tracks. And it was like, wow, did he just say brain tumor? And then, of course, the nurse in me just kicked into overdrive. And it was like, okay, where is it? What side? What location? What's happening? Tell me why this is happening and that's happening. And they basically said, we don't think they'll be able to operate on it because of its location. And with brain tumors, real estate is everything, right? So depending on where it is in your brain, good things can happen and some very bad things can happen. So at first, the first neurosurgeon I saw said, I don't think I'm going to put you on the table because I don't think you're going to survive. So I kept checking different neurosurgeons who I had done some research on because it was a specific type of tumor and the location was bad. Anyway, I found a neurosurgeon in a different city in Canada here, and we traveled and got there and was seen right away. And his eyes kind of lit up with excitement when he saw it. I think neurosurgeons are a bit different. And he was excited to take it on if I was willing to take the chance. And I said to him, look, I'm going to die anyway. So let's give it a go. And, it could turn out to be okay. And he said, yep, let's give it a go. So all my stuff was done that day, and I was on call for the first available operating room that became available. Now, just like location is everything, time was everything. And, having my cell phone at my side all the time was a blessing and a curse, right? Every time the darn thing rang, I just about jumped out of my skin because it was like, okay, is this the call? Is this the call that I've got to get myself there? So that was a bit traumatic. But beyond that, it was over Christmas time, and they had shut down some of the ORs to allow staff to have Christmas with their families. Fair enough. But here I was sitting in a waiting pattern, and that was tough.
Yeah.
And so over Christmas, my family got together and we didn't really celebrate Christmas. We really talked about what was happening, what logistically could happen. I told them my wishes. We planned my funeral. I wrote my obituary, got everything in order like you do. And, so it was a bit somber. And then early January, sorry, of the next year, which was 2024, I did have my surgery. Now, they say that nurses make the worst patients, and I kept that myth alive. I was so proud of myself, but I was grateful to be alive. I did wake up from a coma, which was unexpected. It was about 4 days long, and my poor husband sat at the bedside just wondering if I was ever going to wake up. But I did. And the first thing I realized was that I was tied to the bed. And as you mentioned, I was combative, trying to take things off me and open wounds and all
Oh,
kinds of things. So they did have to restrain me. So once I realized that and the nurses started asking me questions, I thought I was talking to them. Well, it turns out I wasn't. I was making sound, but I wasn't creating words. So one nurse leaned over and she was very kind and she said, okay, listen, you're not making any sense. You're just making sounds. So don't panic. Sometimes speech goes wonky when you've had a brain surgery. So just try and stay calm. Then they got me up to walk because I should have been up walking right after surgery. And I realized in that instant that I couldn't get my legs and feet to go where I wanted them to go. I literally was being dragged across the floor by the nurses trying to get me to walk. So I had to relearn how to speak, relearn how to walk. And then to top it off, my poor husband was standing at the end of the bed and I had no earthly idea who he was. And
wow.
I know that I broke his heart that day because I remember they asked if I knew who he was, and I remember shaking my head no. So that was tough on him.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Oh, well, what you went to. So, so you went through a period of recovery.
Yes.
And so how did that impact your marriage? So you have been married for 20 years, correct?
Yes, we've been married officially for 20, but been together for 30. We actually had a blended family, and we were waiting for all five of the kids to be comfortable with us actually marrying.
Okay.
And so we had a decade of time of kind of bringing this family together and then actually getting married. So it was really a 30-year relationship that
Okay.
I didn't really have much memory of at all. And it's been a tough journey for both of us. I would say worse for my husband because he has all of the memories and he has a memory of what I was like before the surgery. And afterwards, not only did I not recognize him, but my personality changed as well. My likes and dislikes changed. So many of the things that had brought us together as a couple were gone.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been tough. So he was my caregiver once I got home from hospital. And, he took on everything. I mean, the kids were all grown up and gone. So it was just the two of us. But he had to pick up all the cleaning and the cooking and the shopping and the care for me, in addition to sort of suffering in silence with this disconnect of our marriage.
Wow.
So, um, yeah. So what we've kind of decided to do is, it's been 2.5 years now since I've had my surgery.
Mhm.
Um, I still don't have my memories of my marriage or my children's
Really?
childhood. Yeah. Some memories are coming back, but not very much. And so what we've decided to do is we kind of made a commitment to try again. So basically, um, we're married, we're living together in the same house, but we're more like roommates and we're back to dating as if we had just met each other. And for him, it's more challenging because he's used to me doing certain things in
Yeah.
certain ways. For me, it's like he's a new boyfriend and I'm getting to know him and his quirks and his humor and the way he lives. And it's odd. It's really been a journey.
My goodness. So did you have to fall back in love?
Well, one of the things I found with my brain tumor surgery is that my emotions are different. So I'm not even sure what love is anymore. You know, like
Really?
I can't remember what our relationship was like. I can't remember, um, the magic that was there. And so it's more we have a very strong friendship that continues to this day. And every day is, a new memory being created by us as a couple. But we date and we go on adventures. And he's trying to figure me out, quite frankly. And I'm still trying to figure myself out.
Wow. A text came in, a question here. It says, it seems on a lot of occasions, specialists do not present good bedside manners. How would you have wanted him to inform you of your condition to lessen the blow?
Well, he basically said to me, he said, we didn't expect your coma. We're kind of shocked that you're having trouble with your speech. But he said, we're hopeful that things will resolve in time. And he said, we'll get you good therapists to get you up walking and get you to rewire your brain for walking. And we feel that we can do the same with the speech. So I wasn't particularly overwhelmed with what was happening because I think I was just so grateful to be alive. I
Yeah.
fully had expected to die on the table. So once I kind of realized, okay, I'm alive. So that means I've got hope. And with hope, you've got opportunities. And so I kind of didn't grieve at the time that I had lost these things. I just remember thinking, Okay, well, yeah, I definitely have some challenges here. I'm gonna have to work on this.
My goodness gracious, that's oh my God. So now they didn't know that, or your surgeon didn't know that this might happen with the surgery, that you would lose your memory. Did he know that, or did he inform you of that, you might be a totally changed person after this surgery?
Well, he kind of, reframed it when we were talking about signing the consent and did I have any questions as, "This is bad. I don't know whether you're going to survive this."
Okay.
And he said, "If you do survive, that's a good thing." So he didn't really say, all of these things are going to go wrong or we expect X, Y, and Z. But he talked more about, let's hope you get through the surgery. Let's hope, you don't get an infection or anything like that. And, as a nurse, I knew pretty much what was going to happen.
Okay.
Now, what I didn't know is that they would take part of my skull out, and I actually have a soft spot here on the side of my head where I don't have skull anymore because they had to go in a couple of different ways because the tumor was right at the base of my brain, so
Mm-hmm.
that there's no direct way there. So they
Mm-hmm.
had to touch my brain, they had to move it,
Good.
they obviously had to expose it. And there's a saying in healthcare that air to the brain, you're never the same. And I had known that as an ICU nurse, and I had
Okay.
helped people with craniotomies before. So I
Kind
understood
of.
what some of the challenges were. And a lot of it was just related to, swelling and trauma to actually move the brain around. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Maxine Walker is watching. She's very interested in your story. So, Maxine, if you have any questions, just please put them in the chat or text me. Let me know. So, was there any okay? So now you're with your husband, who you don't really know as your husband, but more
Right.
like a friend. But what specific changes did you both have to make in your communication? And if there is any intimacy, or your roles, or daily life, to try to build your relationship back, to be strong like it was before.
Yeah. It's definitely been a change. When he realized I really didn't know who he was, he kind of took a step back and sort of said, "Okay, let's approach this not as you knowing me and me knowing you. Let's approach it as just friends who enjoy each other's company." And as we've been navigating this change in our relationship, certainly there isn't as much intimacy as there used to be. I'm sure he would love more, but for me, it's just
Yeah,
more of a friendship. And
yeah.
so I'm hoping over time that that improves. We certainly spend time together. We um, carve out time every day to connect. We eat meals together if we can. Um, we try and do some of the things that we used to do that I'm not so sure about anymore, but I give it a go, right?
Okay.
And in terms of communication, now that I can speak, it's much better. When I could only write a few words, that was much more challenging. But as my speech came back, we kind of started to laugh about the mistakes, like things like I would mix up my words or I would say something completely bizarre. And so
Okay.
we would use those times as kind of moments to share, a deep respect for each other. And just he acknowledged that he understood that I was going through a terrible time. I acknowledged that he was going through a terrible time. And we had the conversations about, do we call it quits and go our separate ways? Or is there a way we can find a way to just keep going? And we've chosen to keep trying, at least at this point. I mean, there's no animosity, there's no hard feelings. He realizes I'm not doing this on purpose. This is just my new normal. And he's been very kind and understanding. And I know he's talked to his family about it. And that's great because it's a struggle, right? You need to
Yeah.
talk to people about it. Yeah.
Wow. Well, Maxine says, I feel you're a living miracle.
I feel like a living miracle some days. I'm just thrilled that I'm alive. I
Yeah.
really didn't expect to make it. Yeah.
Wow.
And
And
what's even more fun is that I've been able to create a new me. Like I've started writing. I've started to become an author. And actually that came out of my speech therapist who was working with me. He would come regularly to the house and we tried different techniques to get me to be able to speak again. And what I found was that once I realized I could write and write words down and then write sentences and paragraphs, not only was I able to communicate with people, but it helped rewire my brain. And
okay.
that helped bring my speech back.
Wow. Wow. And the thing I was thinking, a lot of couples face health crisis, and yours is, oh my God, but what is this journey, or what did I say what, because you're still on this journey, what is it teaching you about resilience, um, forgiveness, partnership, when one person is changed, because I mean you fundamentally changed. So I just wonder, what you can say to couples who go through this, because sometimes when couples go through some things that are not even as, I would say, as traumatic as yours, they can't stay
Yeah,
together.
I know. I know. And, I half expected my husband to say, I'm sorry, I can't do this. And I would have been okay with that in that I understood how traumatic this was for him. But what I would say is that I guess we come from a generation, I guess, where marriage was very valuable to us as a commitment. And so I think we chose to keep trying because of our belief system, perhaps.
Okay.
Now, I was kind of at a stage where, because I feel like I'm living with a good friend and not a spouse,
Hmm.
I was thinking to myself, well, could I cope if he decided that he was done? And
Yeah.
I sort of thought to myself, I could. Do I want to? No, not necessarily. I mean, I really enjoy his friendship and his company. And I hope that our marriage continues to evolve to a very intimate and tight marriage. And I think it probably will, just because we're both committed to keep trying. So you have to have an open mind. You have to be willing to accept the changes that have come our way. I mean, I can't change who I am. Occasionally, he'll say, I'd like the old Jenny back. Well, great, but who is the old Jenny? I don't remember the old Jenny. And he'll try and describe to me, some of the things that I used to do. And I look at him like, okay, but like, I can't do that. So, you're just going to have to live with the new me, and we kind of go one day at a time, one baby step at a time, and we just kind of try and stay connected.
So have they told you that it's a possibility that you would get your memory back, or there are things that might trigger something, and it's like a trigger a memory? Have they told you, anything about
Yes.
that?
Yeah, when I was having some intervention done, They did say that chances are over time, your memories will start to come back. Now, I have had a couple of times recently, so again, 2.5 years out, where I've smelled something and that's triggered a memory like, oh, I remember I really like that dish or I like that meal, but I can't tell you what it is or how to make it. But the memory is there that I enjoyed that particular meal. We went to a family wedding recently, and a family member got married, and I was enjoying the service and everything. And then as we were heading home, I turned to my husband and I said, I don't remember our wedding at all. And so we spent the rest of the evening with a glass of wine talking about our marriage. And he walked me through, where it was, what I wore, who was there, what we ate. And he tried to, bring back memories that way, but I had no memories. Even when I looked at pictures, it didn't trigger that, yeah, that was me, that was there. It was
So
very odd.
you answered Maxine's question because she said, "Do you have a photo album?" You answered her question.
Yeah, we do. And, we've got pictures of the kids as little people. And, I'm looking at them with fresh eyes like, oh, wasn't he cute? And I'm thinking, I looked after that child, you know? So,
Wow.
yeah, I'm hoping more and more memories come back, but they seem to come back at odd times
Yeah.
or in various settings. So who knows? Who knows?
Okay. So another text came in here. It says, "What advice would you give someone who may have received this very same diagnosis?"
Hmm. Well, I would say, first of all, get a second opinion and make sure that, you feel comfortable with whoever is going to be digging into your head. I mean, the bottom line is we as patients put faith in the people that we give permission to cut us open. And you just really hope that they're having a good day and that they're on top of things and that they're doing the best that they can. um, One of the things that I did with my novels is I created a character based on me, basically, who was a nurse with a brain tumor, and she returned to work. Now, her outcome was different than mine in that she didn't have as good an outcome as I did. But I wanted to share the feelings of frustration and anger and uncertainty that one has after they've had brain surgery. Because when you think about it, if they're, say they're fixing your stomach, well, your stomach's going to be there and your stomach's going to do what your stomach's always done. When they get into your brain, that's the essence of who you are. It's your
Yeah.
memories, it's your personality, it's your likes and dislikes, it's your knowledge, it's everything. So when they start playing with that organ, that's an entirely different set of rules. And one thing you have to remember too is not only to feel good about who's going to do this for you, but you also need to have realistic expectations that things happen that are beyond really anybody's control and that it takes time to recover. They told me it will take a decade or more before I'm, really back to working, like functioning well again. And,
Okay.
I still have challenges to this day. Like I still have intense fatigue that I have to work around. I still have days when I don't speak very well. And I have some depression now that's been brought on by the brain being manipulated.
Yeah.
And so you have to live with the boundaries of what you have as your new normal, but you just have to choose to just keep going forward one day at a time.
So Jenny, so I know you have two books,
Hmm.
and yeah. so t- so I know one of the books, the triggering, was it the triggering scent? Now,
Yes,
now that has some elements of your real life story.
correct. Correct. Yeah.
Now,
So, yeah,
go
I
ahead.
created a story based on a nurse with a brain tumor. Yeah.
And so it's a medical thriller.
Yeah. Yeah. So she's a nurse. She works in an intensive care unit in a major hospital, and she has to go to another city to have the surgery done. And then after about a year, she comes back to work. And one of the reasons I chose to write a thriller book was, I had two things that I knew well. One was my nursing background, and the second was being a patient. So I kind of put the two together and then created scenarios within the book where things go wrong and there's tension and there's fear and there's anxiety and there's crises. And then, it kind of, it shows how she tries to evolve back into her old life of being an ICU nurse. And that was how I was feeling at the time that I wrote the book. It was like, okay, I need to have a purpose. I need to do something. I had finished my nursing career, but now I was focused on trying to come up with something to do that was meaningful, that I could serve others. And so I started writing. And medical thrillers just were kind of a natural thing for me because of my nursing background and the trauma that I'd been through. And it gave me a voice through my character, Abby, to share my frustration, share my insecurities, share my doubts about my capabilities. So it kind of healed me in many ways.
Okay. And your second book?
My second book, so it still has the same nurse who is the main character in the book. And she's now working in a nursing home because I finished my nursing career as a director of nursing in a nursing home. So I was running the nursing department and was responsible for all the people in my care at that home. So, and it was a large home, over 400 people. So lots of things happened. So I took my experiences and again, I manipulated some of them and
Okay.
I made them into a story about things that could conceivably go wrong in nursing homes.
Okay. So you're gonna have a series. You're gonna
Yeah.
keep.
So I'm working on book 3. Yeah.
Okay. And you also write children's books too?
Yeah. I started with children's books actually. When I started, feeling a little bit better and writing some things down, I also gave myself permission to go back to being a kid because I didn't really remember much. And so I thought, as I was lying in bed, I was thinking, okay, if I was 5 years old, what would I be doing now? And simple things came to mind, like going on adventures, playing in the woods, creating characters in my mind, playing with my dog, those kinds of things. And so as I was resting, I was actually thinking about making stories. And so I got up and I would write down children's stories. And they were short, they were simple, they had a lesson or something in them, but it brought me joy that I was actually doing something useful. And so what I've done with the children's books is I've worked with service clubs like Rotary International, and I put them
Okay.
into daycares and schools and
Oh,
stuff just for
okay.
language skills for little people.
Yeah.
Every little bit helps. So that's what I've been doing with the kids' books.
Oh my goodness. Maxine says she likes that, creating a new me. And you have. And she says, how many people get a chance to do that without moving to another city or another country? I mean,
Oh,
you are
absolutely.
so
Yeah. And you know
inspirational.
what? I I I didn't look at it as a bad thing. I think my husband did, but I didn't. Like I knew I couldn't go back. My memories were gone and I kind of said to myself, "Okay, well, you're not going to just sit here for the next, 2 decades and then curl up in a ball. You're going to do something. So why don't you try something new? Why don't you learn a new skill, which was writing?" And what I did was I went online and I found some courses that I could take about, writing a fiction book. And once I learned the technique and the framework, then I found that it wrote fairly quickly. So I learned a new skill, which also forced my brain to try a little harder. and learn
Mhm.
something new, which helped rewire.
Mhm.
And then I got a great sense of satisfaction of having to actually create something that somebody could use. So it brought joy to me. And I felt immense relief at having focused and found something. My
Wow.
husband did call me on it though. He said, he said, you're spending so much time. You're basically working, sleeping, and eating. And I guess I was just so desperate to find something
Yeah.
that I could hang my hat on that
Yeah.
I just wanted to get going. And so when he called me on it, was like, okay, fair enough. I hear you. You want some time too. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's how we ended up setting some boundaries and carving some time just for us.
So now, how did your children respond to this?
Well, in different ways. They were kind of shocked. I think well, they were pleased that I was alive,
Of
obviously.
course. Of
But I
course.
think what when I said to them, guys, I'm sorry, but like I can't remember a lot about your childhood. I can't remember what vegetables you like. You're going to have to kind of start over and reboot me. And I talked to them more like adults to adults as opposed to mom to kids, right? So it's almost like I know I'm their mother, but I don't feel overprotective of them as a mother might. It's more I worry about them just as adults, are things going okay? Are you doing what you want to do? So it's a different dynamic and it's hard to explain, but they've noticed the difference and they've called me out on it and, fair enough.
Yeah. So did you remember them at all or no?
I remembered that there were kids. I couldn't tell you how many there were or what their names were. So we had to go through that process. And again, the pictures came out, this is so and so, this is so and so, and how old they were and what they were doing and where they worked. And I remember my son came over for dinner. I think it was the next Christmas. And I, I, I served dinner and he looked at me and he goes, Mom, I don't eat this. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I don't remember. So I had him write down a list of what he would eat and what he
Okay.
wouldn't eat.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then I had forgotten exactly what he did in his job. So every time he comes, I'm having the same conversation with him about, so tell me about your job and what you're doing. And he looks at me like, oh my goodness, not again. You're not going to make me go through this again.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it'll take a while, um, for him to really emotionally accept what you're
Yeah.
going through. Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah. I
I
don't
can't
think they can
imagine that.
relate at all. Yeah.
Oh, of course not. Of course not. Uh, and that's an emotional thing, probably intellectually, but emotionally, it's just like if you are if you have a relationship with someone who has dementia or Alzheimer's, and
Yeah.
and intellectually, but
Right.
emotionally, yeah. So
Yeah.
Maxine
Yeah. It's
asked
different.
another question. Yeah, wanted to know if you had a service dog.
I don't have a proper service dog. I do have a little guy by the name of Molson. He's a 10-pound Maltese, and he has been just wonderful because he doesn't leave my side. He's more like an emotional support dog. And
Okay.
what's great about him is he's 15 years old now, so he's getting up there like me. But you know, he doesn't worry about me changing. To him, I'm his friend and I'm exactly the same as I was when I left him. So, yeah, he's been a great little guy.
Okay, that's wonderful. So another text came in. Uh, did your faith in God help you through your medical journey, and how?
Yes,
Excellent
it
question.
definitely did. Yeah, I've always been a spiritual person. So I've always had a belief that I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. And so when I woke up, I knew that, someone greater than me and the surgeon had worked some magic there. And I actually remember saying to my God, I kind of said, okay, so what was this all about? Right? You're like, why the brain tumor? What are you trying to tell me here? And the message I kept hearing back was, you weren't paying attention. You weren't done yet.
Yeah.
So that was something else that kind of brought my spirit forward and sort of made me choose to continue growing as a human being. And I mean, my goal is to serve others just as I served as a nurse, but serve in a different capacity. So now it's to entertain. Now it's to talk about my journey and share hope with people who are struggling. That if I can go from a coma to a best-selling author, you know, possibilities are endless and opportunities are there that you have to ask for help for, and you have to seize the day and take new risks and live as best you can. And I have to say that for the first time, I felt real joy. You know,
Okay.
as a nurse, it was a challenging job. And there were certainly days when I felt grateful and happy and content, but I don't think I've really felt true joy. And
Oh,
I've had that now. I feel different.
okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you about this, what silver lining came from this, but you said it already without me asking, and that's like,
Mm.
we go through things and we wonder why, you know, but when you think about it, you're, reinventing yourself, and the silver lining is just, so now you're doing something where you are a service to others in a different way. You know what I
Yes,
mean? Yeah,
exactly. Yes, I
yeah.
do. And that I think is my role. And one of the reasons I'm doing, different podcasts and things is I want people to hear the message of hope. When I was relearning how to walk, my physiotherapist said to me, if you are taking a baby step every day, you can get to the top of Mount Everest. And that kind of stuck with me. And I thought, you're absolutely right. All I have to do is chunk things down into tiny, manageable pieces. And every day is a victory where I can do a couple of extra steps. So, we have to reframe the way we feel about life, I think. We have to challenge some of the stigmas that are out there. Like, I'm in my 60s and people look at me and go like, "Why would you want to do all this?" And and I look at them and I go, "Well, why wouldn't I?" You know?
Right.
And they're going, "But you're in your 60s. Why don't you just slow down and relax and pick up
Oh,
knitting and do this and do," and
oh,
it's like, "No, no, 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 no. I have a blank slate that's been given to me." And as you
yeah,
said, how many people get to reinvent themselves? So I look at it as a huge gift, and I just choose to try and make other people feel brighter and more capable, and that they have power that they don't even realize they have,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
So
yeah. And so Maxine has another question here. She said, "Is your husband retired also, or did he retire after you had surgery?"
no, he had retired before. So we
Okay.
were both retired for about 5 years before this actually happened to us. So, yeah, we were doing our thing and having a great time, but then somebody had other plans.
So, Jenny, what advice would you give to someone who's watching and they're currently supporting a spouse through a major health challenge or recovery?
Well, the first thing that I would say is bless you. And the second thing I would say is you need to take care of yourself because the job that you're doing is monumental and you can't do it alone. And I know that in some places around the world, there are, people struggling and they don't have the support services that they need. And, there's no quick solution for that. But I want everybody to hear that self-care is very important. Even as a patient, I finally realized it was time for me. It was time for me to take the time to heal, take the time to explore something new, and find something joyful. Now, if you're the caregiver, you're
Yeah.
probably exhausted all the time.
Mm.
And you're probably trying more than you could possibly imagine to do the right thing all of the time. And I know there's not an easy fix for that, but you need to be good to yourself. You need to take time for yourself if you can. Even if they're napping, you nap. If they're frustrated and angry or acting out, maybe try and take them outside just to distract them or do something different, because your mental health and your physical health are key to you surviving what you're going through. And I often said to my husband, go hit some golf balls. I'm fine. Like, leave the house, go hit some golf balls, spend some time alone or with your friends, and just decompress. I'm
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So Sandy Barney Ennis says, she says, you are my shero. I get I get sad at times because I lost my hearing on the left side due to an acoustic neuroma. I guess you know what
Aroma.
that
Yep.
is.
Yep.
That seems so
I do.
small when hearing your story. Wow.
Oh, well, thank you very much. But, you know, um, I have disabilities now too. So I hear you when you say you have one too. And for me, I just try and work around it to the best of my ability. And sometimes I can't. Sometimes I have to crash and go to bed. And I've just made it very clear to people that, yeah, I may look fine, but I'm not. Hear me when I say I'm tired and I need to go lie down. So sometimes you just have to, set some boundaries, but I hear you.
Yeah. So now you know the show is called Relationship Matters. So look, and I like to talk about relationships, which we've been talking about anyway, but looking back,
Yeah.
how has all of this redefined love and commitment, and what does that mean to you and your husband?
Well, I every marriage has ups and downs and every marriage has challenges. For us, this was a pretty major one, I have to admit. But, I think we're in line in terms of what we believe in. And so that in itself has helped us to navigate some of the rough water. Because if you have a commitment, you're gonna do a double take before you walk away. You're gonna try one more time. You're gonna throw in the towel one less time, and you're gonna just keep pushing forward. Um, who knows what tomorrow will bring? I mean, every day is a bit of a challenge, and it's like a box of chocolates, like Forrest Gump would say.
Okay.
Every day you just don't know quite what you're gonna get. So you have to have the spirit of resilience and of wanting to succeed, I guess. You just have to keep at it one day at a time, one step at a time.
Yeah, uh, I was saying this earlier. You look at some of the things that you figure, are wrong with you or the challenges that you have. But then when you hear other people's challenges and they're far greater than yours, and then you start thinking, you're blessed because you're blessed that number one, you came through that, because think of the ones who did not come through that kind of surgery. And also the fact that God had something like that song, God is not through with me yet. And it's like okay, and you wonder, why am I going through this? Why, and the fact that, number one, you've become an accomplished author, and I had never heard of medical thrillers. And
Okay.
I said, oh, did she invent that? Never heard of medical thrillers, and I love to read. And so, that, and then your children's books, it's really, it's amazing. It is a miracle, like Maxine said, you know, uh,
Yeah.
and it's just, yeah, when you really think about it, right, right.
Yeah, and I fully acknowledge that it's a miracle. And so I think that's one of the things that drives me to just, find something that brings me joy, but also serves. And, I'm pretty sure I'm on the right path because things are happening and more opportunities are coming forward. And I'm meeting fantastic people. And, all of that together is inspiring. And I just want people to have hope that there's a better tomorrow.
And there is, and I'm looking for how. I know I put it in here. Oh, I know what happened. But you can tell me, and I'll put it in here. We had an outage, and my computer went out, blacked out.
Oh,
But
yes.
I want to, yeah. So I want to. How do people get in contact with you?
Okay. I do have a website, and it's www.jennywhite.ca. For your listeners who might be interested in having a speaker, I also do public speaking on this topic of how to reinvent yourself. I actually have a framework that I created that I walk people through. Here's some little ideas that might apply to you.
Ooh,
So I have that at speakerjennywhite.ca.
okay, hold on, because I misspelled your name. White.
Oh, bless you.
Wait a minute, what the heck? Okay, so let
Well,
me
that's funny.
put this on here. Yeah, all right. Wait a minute. That's not how you spell white. Come on. Okay, so we're going to add this banner, and we're going to, come on, show it. There you
There
go.
we go. Yes, you got it. You got it. Perfect.
www.jennywhite.ca. And if you go to her website, you will see her books,
Yeah.
and you'll find all out about her. And if you want her to speak, is Jenny,
It's speaker Jenny White.
speaker, www dot
Yeah. Yes.
www dot speaker Jenny White, is that .com?
.ca.
Dot
Because I'm a
C.
Canadian girl.
Oh yes, that's right. You are.
That's
You're.
okay.
There you go. There you go.
That's it.
All
There
right,
you go.
Jenny. Thank you so much. Your story is eye-opening, very inspirational.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very, very, and I'm sure the people who are watching or listening, you are their shero.
Oh, thank you very much. It was a pleasure being here.
It was a pleasure, as they say, a plum-pleasing pleasure.
Love it.
So you take care, and we
Yes.
will stay in contact. We will
Okay. Wonderful.
stay in contact.
Thanks so
So
much.
thank you.